The first episode of Agatha, the whatever title they're going with, is out. And it starts with Agatha, who's still trapped inside the hex our favorite magical woman named Wanda made, and who for some reason can't show her face. But luckily, Islander guy right here got her out of it. And the moment she got out, she went streaking right in the middle of the neighborhood. To the list you go.
You just made the list!
After finally covering herself up, someone out of nowhere goes after her but can't seem to off her even though she doesn't even have any powers. What? And the guy with the eyeliner here wants to be brought to the road. So yeah, in today's episode of Agatha, the whatever title they are picking, the guy with the eyeliner here just so happens to have two-factor identification and can't share information about himself. And Agatha must have a coven to enter the Witch's Road. He needs a fortune teller, a potions maker, a protection specialist, and a random old lady. All because she doesn't want to bring along the lady that tried to off her. Yeah, we all know that it was her in the list. We're not dummies. Well, not unless the old lady really does have magic powers. Anyways, they all gather up, sang the road song, which is more catchier than the one in the Acolyte, while Eyeliner has to deal with the ring rate rejects. And for a while, they thought that they couldn't travel to the road. Agatha out here calling them bitches and wants them to blast her. But because the story has to happen, it actually appeared. And they all went inside, along with Eyeliner. So yeah. In the third episode of Agatha, I don't know what's the episode this time, they finally entered the road, but there's a problem. One of the rules of the road is to never go off the road. But the old lady they brought in just so happens to go off-road. So this means that they get punished, right? Nope, they just happen to be in the right path. And when they enter the Airbnb, they all change to their Sunday brunch attire and are greeted with a riddle. And the answer to that riddle just so happens to be the favorite drink of the target audience of this show. They all drink the wine, well except for Eyeliner. They soon realize that this is a test, as their faces now look like the Kardashians. And the potions maker must make a potion to cure them. They all look for the ingredients, all the while hallucinating and seeing their fears. They've succeeded in making that potion, drank it, and escaped with their lives. Well except for the old lady. Also, Mephisto got mentioned, so there's that. In the fourth episode of Agatha, I wonder what's the title this time. They bury the body of the old lady, and Agatha, being Agatha, wants to move on. But because they need a green witch, they summon one. And it just so happens to be the witch who tried to off Agatha in the first episode. I knew it was her all along. So they all went inside the next Airbnb, and it just so happens to be the protection witch's mom's place. And they're now all wearing 70s outfits. Agatha and the Green Witch talk to each other and tells Agatha that she's definitely going to steal their powers. But Agatha, obviously lying, says she's not going to do that. The next trial begins and they smash the music player, but it ended up releasing a curse that went after everyone. So they used a protection circle to ward it off. But it's still not enough, so they had to play a different version of the Witch's Road. It worked and they passed the test, but Eyeliner got really hurt from the curse. And they must go to the next trial. In the fifth episode of Agatha, why there are so many titles, the ring rate rejects are back to get Agatha, so they all needed a ride, a magic broom branch thing where they had to do a ritual to make, and managed to escape only for the road to pull them down to the next Airbnb, where they're now in their 80s sleepover outfits, and also happens to be Agatha's test, and she must speak with the dead by using a Luigi board. They all join in the seance, and Agatha gets possessed by the old lady they brought in, but Agatha was faking it, and when she actually does it, she summons Deadpool's girlfriend? Oh nope, never mind, it was her mom. It explains that she's a really bad person. Gee, who would have guessed? She then gets possessed by her mom and uses her powers on Protection Witch. Her son Nicholas Scratch appears to stop her, but Protection Witch got turned into a husk, and Eyeliner had to finish her test. She succeeds, and they're all now finally questioning why they're with her, and Eyeliner then reveals that he's Wiccan. Wow, who would have guessed? In the sixth episode of Agatha, what's the title again? We see Eyeliner here is celebrating his bar mitzvah and gets to have a fortune-telling session with Divination Witch. She tells him that his life will be split into two, and she also gave him a sigil. His celebration is ended after one of the shenanigans, which causes him to get into a car accident and made Billy Maximoff take over his body. When he wakes up, they thought that he got amnesia and can read minds now. When they went home, their dog doesn't even recognize him and convince himself that he is William Kaplan. And after a few years, he studied witchcraft and tells his boyfriend that he is not only William Zaplin, but also Billy Maximoff, and they both did the mwamwa. They also meet up with Not Quicksilver and tells them what happened when he got hexed, and also tells them who were Wanda's children and who she was fighting. Billy then goes to Agatha, and we see what actually happened when he broke inside the house and unhexes her. Agatha then realizes that he is in fact Billy Maximoff after the sigil wore off. In the 7th episode of Agatha, the many titles, it begins with divination, which here falling into darkness. Agatha and Billy are going to the next trial while talking about Wanda, and Billy tells her that she's not his mom. When they enter the next trial, they're turned into whatever Disney licensed character they could get away. They must do a fortune telling via tarot cards, but it goes badly because they're not doing it correctly. Potions Maker and Divination Witch go to a tunnel, while Divination Witch has a flashback of her learning divination magic, and they both made it out to the next trial. She does the trial with Billy, but it doesn't go well for some reason, and is getting more flashback and precognition scenes. He learns on why she needed to go to the Witch's Road. He repeats back to the tunnels, where they see the ring rate rejects. And finally learns that she must read her fortune on the tarot cards, with very interesting results. She passes the trial, but she sacrifices herself to the ring rate rejects and turns most of them, including herself, into pincushions. And also, Deadpool's girlfriend finally shows herself. In the 8th episode of Agatha, seriously, what's the title? We see Protection Witch here waking up and realizing that Rio is dead and was off. Agatha and Rio interact and tells her that she must sacrifice Billy or else. Agatha agrees, but they must finish the last trial, even though they don't have a green witch. So they continue, and Agatha, who's getting too confident, then realizes that the road goes in circles. She gets mad at Billy for some reason, and they decide to screw the rules and wear their shoes, which takes them to the next trial, where they woke up in a mortuary. They all have items such as Billy with his notebook full of dirt, Potions Maker with some water, and Agatha with her locket. Potions Maker discovers that Agatha was the one who bounded her, so she unbounds herself and passes the trial. Billy needs to find his brother and places his soul to someone getting thrown in the lake, and he passes. Agatha, panicking, uses hair from her locket and her own tears to create life and passes. She wakes up in her basement. Rio came for her, and Agatha avoids her attacks. Billy comes back wearing his costume and helps Agatha by powering her up. She battles her but realizes that she can't beat her, so she sacrifices herself and was off. Billy goes home and realizes that everything in his room is somehow related to the Witch's Road. In the 9th episode of Agatha, how many titles did they made again? We see flashbacks of her being pregnant and Rio coming to collect a soul. So she makes a deal with her to save her son's life and gives birth to him. We see her coming inside a witch's protection circle and observes all of their powers. We see Nicholas Scratch as a small kid stealing a bell, which brings in witches that Agatha absorbs. Nikki asks why she does that and tells him that she has to. Nikki sings a song he wrote and Agatha helps him write the lyrics. He sings it in a tavern and brings him attention and money. A woman comes and wants to give him shelter and food, but he doesn't want it because stranger danger. At night, Rio came to get Nikki, and Agatha wakes up realizing what just happened. She buries him and keeps his hair. The same woman earlier came to her because she thinks Agatha knows where the Witch's Road is. But as it turns out, this was just Agatha luring in witches to absorb their powers using the song. So it really was Agatha all along. Oh. We see Billy seeing the ghost of Agatha and tells him everything. Billy comes to her basement to make her soul rest, but she doesn't want to because Nikki will be disappointed. So Billy decides to have her around so they can find Tommy.